The following programming is sponsored by Mark J. Bernstein. The views expressed do not necessarily reflect the views of this station, its management, or Beasley Media Group. Entrepreneur, founder, author, and financial advisor Mark Bernstein helps high-performing business owners turn their visions into reality. Through his innovative work and the Forward Focus Forums, Mark connects entrepreneurs to resources that fuel their success. Founders Forum is a radio show and podcast where entrepreneurs share their journeys, revealing the lessons they've learned and the stories behind their success. Join Mark and his guests for a mix of inspiration, valuable insights, and a little fun. Now, let's dive in.
Good morning, America. America, how are you? Depends who you ask, I guess, and whatever you're thinking about everything that's going on. But good morning. It's a hot and sunny day in Philadelphia. It's always sunny, and it's almost always hot these days in the summer. And we have in our studio Matt. I'll introduce Matt formally in a second. And Matt, we always have a topic of the day, and I didn't lay it on you in advance, so I'm coming completely out of the woods on this. But we talk a lot about AI, and you're in the AI business. Give us your latest outlook on AI and where it is and where it's going.
Look, I mean, the growth in AI has been exponential over the last couple of years. I think you look at ChatGPT, Perplexity, Claude, all of these different models, they have really grown, but the base technology, those transformer models, that's starting to stagnate. They're not necessarily getting any more powerful. What's happening right now, the real innovation in AI is that application layer that's sitting on top of these models. It's like we discovered fire, found gasoline. Right. What can we do with it? And I think that's really where we're at.
I like that. Yeah, trying to figure it out. And everyone's scrambling to figure that out, I think, in a way, right?
I think it's a gold rush. I mean, the sky's the limit.
Crazy. So I'm a financial advisor. Invest in AI, your opinion.
Yes. I think this is. You have to. Yeah. I think this is one of those transformational technologies like the internet that is here to stay.
They say it's bigger than the Industrial Revolution, and it may well be.
Yeah.
So interesting. So let me introduce Matt. Matt is CEO and co-founder of ClearCOGS and host of the Restaurant AI podcast. We might get into that a little bit.
Like and subscribe.
Yeah, like and subscribe. Restaurant AI podcast. In fact, look up Restaurant AI and you should see it. Matt is an ex-operator turned tech founder, and we'll talk about him as an operator a little bit. So he spent close to a decade as a Jimmy John's franchisee, which was quite a phenomenon when it came out, Jimmy John's, by the way. And he's currently the CEO of ClearCOGS with the mission to empower restaurants with the information they need to run more smoothly and profitably. Matt, welcome. Glad to have you here.
It's an honor to be here.
It's great. And we started with this, as often happens, we started talking quite a while back, and we're here today. It's always great to meet people.
I think this has been a year in the making.
I think you're right. It's a year in the making. So this is going to be a really good show. That's what happens.
You know it.
So Matt, let's talk about your beginnings, which I believe you were from Illinois originally. And then you found yourself in D.C. So let's talk about how that happened, and then how Jimmy John's happened, and then how you got to where you are today.
Yeah, I'm a good old Midwestern boy, born in, Southern Illinois. The long and short of it was this. I went out and did investment banking as an internship and sat in a cubicle and crunched numbers and realized, that's not for me. I'm ADD, dyslexic, I like doing things. And so Champaign, Illinois, where I was born, is the headquarters of Jimmy John's. It's it was kind of like religion in the town. Everybody was somehow associated with Jimmy John's or tied to it. And so I kind of got.
By the way, Champaign is food-related town name, even.
Yeah,
in your blood,
and a good food
in a good way. It's a very good food. Yeah,
but so I found this opportunity where some guy had run his Jimmy John's franchise into the ground and basically needed to get out of the personal guarantees, and none of the franchisees, who were far smarter than I was, would buy the thing. Should have been a red flag. I saw it as this opportunity, hey, I think I could go own a business. Right. Let me go roll the dice. And,
right.
Just like Have you ever seen The Bear, the FX show?
I started watching it. It's on my list. I got to finish that. I love the concept.
So I started watching it 3 times. Literally, I turned it off the first 2 times. Finally, the third time I got through it because it was like PTSD. Like that was, except I wasn't the Michelin star trained chef. I was the semi-delinquent college student.
Right.
But like,
making hoagies. Well, they don't call them hoagies.
I mean, I walked into this place and literally it's the middle of summer in DC. The air conditioning's out. Like, the moment you walk in, all you smell is the grease trap because they haven't cleaned it for forever. Like the cold tables were overheating, so they had ice buckets on top of the compressors to keep the equipment from failing.
You bought an existing Jimmy John's?
Yeah, it's a total turnaround, just like The Bear.
Yeah.
And, you quickly find yourself in a situation where you don't have any choice. You got to make this work or you're going bankrupt.
Right.
So you find a way to make it work.
Which was how? How'd you do that?
You know what? They always say in the restaurant industry, you can work harder, you can work smarter. When you're in your early 20s,
all you know is work harder.
You only know work harder. So I ended up working 120 hours a week and sleeping on the back of the store floor between shifts. I mean, I look back on it.
You were married at this point too, right?
So it's kind of crazy. My wife and I literally got married 18 months after meeting. And it was in college. So we'd lived together for 3 months and I proposed. And the rest is history.
It worked out.
It worked out, and still married today. Have 2 wonderful children.
Wonderful. That's unusual. You hear that when people rush into it like that, but you knew something.
I think a lot of it is your mentality. We weren't dating for fun. I'm literally sleeping in the back of the store floor. Yeah. It's utter chaos.
You're a pretty serious guy at this point. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, hey. If we're going to have this relationship, it's not because we like going on dates on Friday nights. We're investing in each other.
Yeah.
And,
So she was all in.
I think so. I got her to say yes.
Yeah, there you go.
I'd love to hear her answer on that. But yes, she decided to go all in.
Next time we do this, let's bring her on.
Yes.
Get the other perspective. Anyway, so you're married. You're happily married. You've been through a lot, I'm sure. And so let's continue on the Jimmy John's saga.
Yeah, I think I give a lot of my success to Jimmy John's as a brand. I didn't know anything about running restaurants.
Sure.
But, the beautiful thing about a franchise system is they give you a playbook. This is what you need to do every day. Your job is to go in and execute. And so that's what I did. I showed up and we executed every day. Fast, flawless food, customer service. And sure enough, over the next 18 months, we took it from doing $400,000 to $1.2 million. And we were off to the races.
Wow. That's amazing. And how did you own just one or did you own multiple?
Yeah, you rolled the profits up and opened up 4 more.
4 more. You had 5. And they all became successful?
No, it's restaurants.
Right,
it's like Russian roulette. You open one, it's like, shoot, this is going to be a painful process to grow sales.
Right. And by the way, I know you went to University of Iowa for college, right?
Go Hawkeyes.
And then Duke for your MBA.
Yeah,
right?
Still don't know how I managed to pull that one off.
I was going to say, dyslexic, you're not a student, you told me, but you got a master's.
Somehow, you know what, it's crazy. My marketing degree at Iowa, I think I had a lower GPA than my MBA at Duke.
How about that? So somehow you did that. That's pretty amazing. I'm sure that's helped you too. I'm sure you learned some things there.
I learned a ton. I think the one thing it gave me was perspective. I walked into the room and you listen to these incredibly talented, successful people. And, I remember just having the realization, I was running a multi-million-dollar business. We had hundreds of employees. We ran the whole thing on Excel spreadsheets and guessing.
Right.
It's that just doesn't make sense.
Right.
I sat there and thought I always thought I'd go back into Jimmy John's. I didn't be an operator, just get a different market. But, going through that process, I kind of realized the thing I loved about the industry was the 5% of stuff that wasn't in the playbook, right? And when you're a franchisee, your job is just to follow the playbook.
The stuff you had to figure out.
Yeah, if I could spend half my time getting to do the 5% that's not in there, that really excited me.
So that became your kind of aha at some point, that there's something missing in terms of the way restaurant operations are run, I believe. And I believe it probably had something to do with systems and technology and AI, obviously.
The AI had nothing to do with it. I think it was an inkling I had then.
Right. That's what I meant. You saw a light there or something.
It was a feeling, right?
Yeah.
And sure enough, it was, I don't know, 18 months later, I got into programming, data science. And that was the light bulb. It was like, oh my gosh, this exists. Like, technology has gotten so great.
And you didn't have any background in that, right?
None whatsoever. So for me, it was like discovering fires.
Right.
Like, what is this magic, and why did I not have it when I was running my restaurants? And so that's when I called up my now co-founder, Osa, and like we went and just talked to a bunch of restaurants. I said, I think there's something here.
But by the way, so at this point, you're now out of Jimmy John's. So how did that happen?
I'm out of Jimmy John's, sold them as part of that transition.
Because you saw something else you wanted to do. Is that right?
No, it wasn't that. It was a season of my life. You know, I had just started having children. Like, you know, restaurants are tough, man. It's a tough job. And
tough job to have while you're raising children.
Yeah, it's the late night calls. You're constantly, I mean, the phone is the devil because it's always going to ring with another problem. And it was like, you know, I think I'll get back into this, but now would be a good time in my life to maybe focus on the family, you know, take a pause.
So this was, how long ago was this?
Gosh, 2016, 17.
Okay, so 8 years ago. Something like that. Yeah.
So I came up to Philly, actually, for I ran innovation for a medical device company. It was my one stint into the corporate world.
Okay, so you got a job. Philly. You sold at restaurants, got a job.
Yeah, right. My wife loved it, by the way. She's like, you mean to tell me you could work 40 hours a week, get paid good money, and just like make dinner for the family and be around? Like,
right.
Yeah.
But of course, that eventually wasn't enough.
Yeah. You know, I would say I literally just can't help myself.
Right. Well, entrepreneur through and through, right? I mean, you know, you have to work for yourself. You got to create something, right? Aren't those some of the traits of being an entrepreneur?
I would say so.
Yeah. And what was driving you at the point? So you had the job. What drove you to want to do this?
I got fired.
There you go.
COVID hit.
That'll do it.
Company restructures, and you find yourself with a 1 and 3-year-old and no job, and you got to go figure out what your life's going to be.
So we're at 2020 now.
Yeah.
Okay. So you're home, like I was home, recreating myself. And what happened then?
So this is when I got into the programming, data science. It was something I love numbers. I loved Excel. You know, I built all kinds of stuff in Excel, and it was like I should go learn programming.
Gotcha. Interesting. So you started learning programming. Were you applying it to the restaurant business at this point?
No. I mean, I actually was looking at COVID statistics.
Right. Okay.
Just random things.
So you were just educating yourself, period, for no apparent reason at that point.
I was honestly exploring the capabilities of technology, just understanding what it could do.
I love that. So how long did you go on like that before you had a business idea?
Not long. It didn't take too long.
Right. How long?
6 months.
Okay. So 6 months. So what did you do then?
So that's when I called my
partner,
co-founder Osa, and said, look, I think there's something in restaurants. I think this is an interesting space. And we went out and talked to every restaurant we could find. I think we talked to like 50 different brands. And, you know, I give Osa a lot of credit. He's a product guy. He'd do a really good job of interviewing. And, you know, say, what is it that you want? And they'd be like, well, I want a graph. It's like, why do you want this graph? And I want it for A, B, and C reason. And he'd keep asking, why do you want that? And the funny thing happened. It always came back to the same answer if you asked why enough. I don't know who's going to walk in the door tomorrow. And because I don't know who's going to walk in the door tomorrow, I make incorrect, inefficient decisions around what I prep, what I order, who I staff. And we said that is interesting, and that is something we can solve.
Very interesting. So Osa, what was his background, by the way?
He's a genius programmer guy. they threw him in a think tank out in Silicon Valley out of college. You know, he's one of those guys.
And where did you meet him?
I met him online. Talk about rediscovering yourself during COVID.
Really?
He was launching his first startup. He was looking for advisors. I'm at home with my 2 kids. My wife's in healthcare, so it's like I'm raising the 2 kids. I need some adult entertainment. Somebody to converse with. So we ended up working together.
Cool. Well, that is a very good jumping off point for us to take a quick commercial break, and we'll be right back on Founders Forum with Matt Wampler.
Stay tuned.
What's holding you back from your next big move? At Workshop Strategy, we're more than just advisors. We're partners in your success. We don't just hand you a plan and walk away. We roll up our sleeves and work alongside you to build a strategy that drives growth, strengthens leadership, and makes operations more efficient. If you run a medical practice, pharmacy, healthcare organization, or any healthcare business, we create solutions tailored to your needs and goals. We're here to help you take your business to the next level. Let's lead with innovation. Let's set bold goals, and let's achieve them together. Visit workshopstrategy.com to get started.
We're back on Founders Forum with our guest today, Matt Wampler. And fascinating story, Matt. So you met Osa, your partner, who I understand is based out of Chicago, and so is your company, correct?
Yes, sir.
And you started the business. And what did you do? How did you start it? You started calling on some restaurant companies? Or?
You do what everybody does. You call up a family member who's got a restaurant and say, "Hey, can I experiment on your restaurant?"
Right.
And, you know that
your
was
family member or his?
Yeah, it's my family member.
Yeah.
And you kind of realize like we were looking for reasons not to do this. So we set out and said, okay, there should be a solution here. There's not. Why? That's a big red flag. We kind of figured out why. Then we went and said, is it even possible to do? So we went out, worked with my cousin for a few months. This is kind of just playing around. Turned out we cut his bread waste in half. We're like, okay, this might actually work. And so that's when we decided, like, let's go start a company.
That's very smart. I was talking to an entrepreneur yesterday who's starting a company. A relative of mine is working for this it's an innovative furniture company done internationally. And real smart guy, real, data-driven kind of guy. And I asked him to demonstrate a couple things to me. He says, not yet. We're not ready yet. We're testing. He said, October. Talk to me again in October. So it's very smart to do that. So you started the business. I assume you started collecting some clients. And after that, it was a smooth ride. I'm kidding, of course.
Yeah, not even close. We'll call it an iterative process.
Right, okay. So there were challenges. Tell me about the challenges starting up.
Well, look, I think the hardest thing is this. You're starting a new company that nobody's heard of, offering a new product that nobody's heard of in a whole new technology category. And then mix in the fact that we ended up using AI to do all of this. Nobody understands that. So really it was solution awareness. Everybody knew the problem. They knew the pain of running a restaurant. They know it's a low margin business. They know their 18-year-old kid running the night shift is not making the best decisions.
Right.
But when you come in and say we're going to use AI to do predictive analytics and answer these questions proactively, they're like, that sounds like voodoo. Like, I'm not buying it.
Right. So selling them on your value proposition was the challenge.
Yeah, I mean, I would say this. They say first-time founders focus on product, and I don't know if it's second or third-time founders focus on distribution. But there's a lot of wisdom there.
Yeah.
Sales is the hardest thing to do. And not only just because sales is tough, but sales also informs everything you build.
Right. I understand that. We're going through kind of a rebranding and reclarification of our value proposition in our business. And there's a lot of work involved in that. It comes down to the sales process and who you're speaking to, how you're speaking to them. And
it's the customer.
Yep.
The more you can speak with the customer, learn what their pain is, right? How they want to interact with your product. I mean, that's where magic happens.
Right. So you did that. You got a few customers, I assume, to start.
We did.
Yep. And how did that go?
Horribly.
Yes. Okay.
No, I mean, welcome to the early stages of startups.
Right.
We got some great shots on goal. It's two guys in a garage just trying to figure out what we do. And, we screwed up.
So at what point and how did you get there where things started growing?
Look, in my world, everything is red, yellow, or green, right? And there is always one or two items that are in the red. And that's where we focus our time and energy. So, you start out, everything's red.
Right.
You get one thing green, great. I mean, it's just a constant battle of failing, learning, and iterating.
Well, so I'll ask you another way. Where are you today in terms of how many customers? I know you did kind of a big deal with Toast, if I recall.
Yeah, we're on the Toast marketplace. That's a big one. Today, I think if you walk into a restaurant, there's a 70% chance we're integrated directly into their point of sale system.
How about that?
We're in 100 brands across 4 countries, ranging from kind of your regional chains to multi-billion-dollar publicly traded companies.
So what's your distribution system look like today, your sales? Because obviously it's beyond you going out and knocking on doors at this point.
It is. So and we've been knocking on doors for a long time. We've wanted to work directly with the customer.
Right.
And frankly, we were a poor startup. We didn't have any resources.
Of course.
We had to be very careful with where we put our development resources and where we built because we didn't have that much bandwidth. We finally closed our seed round. We've got some great investors that have come in, and now we have some more resources. So we're really focused on partnerships. How can we take your current systems in your restaurant and turn them into smart systems? How do I make your labor management system automatically schedule the right people at the right time? How do I make your ordering system for when I order from Cisco or US Foods, right, automatically order the right food? How would my prep cook know how many chicken tenders to drop in at this time?
Sounds like a dream system for restaurants. I mean, if you could do all that, sounds like a pretty easy value proposition to sell at some point.
It is.
Yeah. So do you do country clubs, by the way?
We haven't. My mom brought that up. If you're listening, credit to you. Mark's on your side.
I am. You know why? Because I was having this conversation yesterday. The country club, the golf club, I'll call it, that I belong to, is run by guys who are in the restaurant business. And they run the restaurants great, but they don't know how to apply it, in my mind, to the country club business. It's a lot different. You don't know who's going to walk in. You don't know how much food you should have prepared and stored and ordered, et cetera. So if it could be applied, and I know a lot of people in that business, managers and general managers.
Well, let me take us on
they need something.
Side tangent for a second. So, back in 2020,
yep,
OpenAI hadn't released ChatGPT. AI was not a buzzword, and we knew of it, but that was not something we wanted to do. Right? I remember we worked with, we did this work study thing with Duke and brought in 18 grad students doing their masters of quantitative management. We turned them loose on all of this and said, we want you to do this old school regression. Don't give me this black box machine learning. And on the side, me and one of the data guys started playing around with machine learning. And it was like, oh my gosh, it just crushed, 18 super smart kids.
Yeah.
And what AI is really good at, whether it's ChatGPT is literally just predicting the next word in a sentence, right? It's good at pattern matching.
Yeah.
So whether it's predicting how much prep to do today or how many golfers are going to show up, it's just going to pattern match. When it rains, golfers don't show up, right? It's amazing what this technology could do.
Very interesting. And I was going to ask you that. How did you get to that step? That's how you got to that step.
Yeah, that was kind of the aha moment. We went all in on it. It was one of the best decisions we made.
So looking out today, you've got your seed money. You're on an expansion mode. I imagine ultimately an exit strategy might look like being acquired or something down the road.
Look, I don't spend a lot of time thinking about that.
Yeah.
My fundamental belief is this. Restaurants is the hardest job out there.
Right.
It's often a thankless job where you put the key in the door in the morning and then just wait for things to go wrong. We believe that hindsight is 20/20. I mean, I could tell you the amount of times I could look back and say, man, if I knew it was going to rain, I would have brought more drivers. If I knew there was this basketball game I forgot about, I would have staffed up. If we were to give that information ahead of time to restaurants, it not only would make their lives easier, but it would make it a much more profitable, sustainable industry. And if we can just continue to make that vision come to reality and change the lives of all of these restaurants, ultimately the exit takes care of itself. But I'm loving the journey as it is today.
So along the journey, what's your vision for the future? Let me ask you this. If you and I are 3 years from now, we're talking, what would have to happen for you to feel that was a successful 3-year period?
Yeah, look, nobody gets into restaurants because they love inventory or reviewing P&Ls or, looking at variance reports. I mean, this is the people business. They get into it for the hospitality. And, fundamentally, the restaurants that are successful are the ones that master the cold analytics. It's the McDonald's of the world, right? It may not be the best burger in town, but like they figured out the business of running restaurants. Sure. You know, the future we see is your fractional CFO, COO that sits on top of your data, your restaurant co-pilot, that when you wake up in the morning, you say, what do I need to know? It gives you a synopsis of what happened yesterday, you know, the key areas of concerns, what's coming today. You've got this catering order, you need to prep this much more. How do we make better decisions? And it's something that technology today, thankfully to these, you know, large language models, is a reality and will be a reality in the next 3 years.
So it's sort of bringing that kind of analytics model that I'm sure McDonald's already has to the family-owned business or the small chains or the...
You know, there's this weird world in franchising where franchisors make their money on top-line revenues. You pay royalty to them.
Yeah.
The tax man.
Yeah.
Better believe that they invest heavily in anything that increases revenues.
Right.
But they don't necessarily care as much about the bottom line.
Right.
It's not as high of a priority. And so most chains don't have this. And the technology's new and it wasn't possible 5 or 10 years ago. So it's kind of a green field today.
Can you get into like McDonald's owners or the franchise or franchise agreements allow it?
I could probably count on one hand the brands that do this internally. McDonald's is one of them.
Right.
I think they employ like half the data scientists in the industry.
But all the other chains
most of the other chains.
Yeah. So let me ask you a quick question. If you could speak to your younger self, we've covered a lot of ground today. What advice would you give yourself, Matt?
It all comes down to relationships. I would have gotten on social media earlier. I would have asked for advice from, you know, powerful business leaders that are smart. Like I would have done that way earlier because when I was in restaurants, I lived within my 4 walls. My whole world was that 1,600 square feet, and I did not open the aperture to broaden my, you know, network.
Interesting. I'm going to throw a couple other fun questions because we have about a minute left. What music do you listen to?
I rip whatever's on the radio right now.
Yeah.
Alternative rock, classic rock. Right now, a lot of Taylor Swift because I got 2 girls, 6 and 8.
There you go. You're fortunate. When my daughter was that age, I had to listen to Britney Spears, and you got Taylor Swift is another higher level.
Britney Spears and the Spice Girls. It's still playing.
Still playing. Yeah, gotcha. Okay, so we have a little more time. How about books? Are you a reader?
You know, I do audiobooks. I love podcasts.
Yeah. Yep. And what's your favorite podcast?
The Restaurant AI podcast.
And then Founders Forum.
And then
after that.
I love Lex Friedman.
He's great. Yeah.
They're long. It's like a book on tape in some ways, but you know, just talk about interesting conversations with
one of the most intellectual podcasts
out
there. Yeah. It really makes you think a lot. Yeah. Anyone else? Have any others you like?
You know what? I may be controversial. I like the Joe Rogan podcast quite a bit.
I do too.
I enjoy the curiosity and the variety of subjects.
He covers a lot of ground, that's for sure. You ever listen to Mark Maron, WTF?
No.
Oh, check that one out. I think he's retiring from it. He's now an actor. He was a comedian. So he's a great interviewer. He used to do it out of his garage. He had Obama come to his garage in California to interview him. Yeah, Mark Maron, WTF. Anyway, that's all the time we have on Founders Forum today. Matt, it's been great. We could do a part 2, I'm sure, at some time if we want.
Let's make it happen. We'll bring the wife.
And thank you all for listening today, and we'll see you next week on Founders Forum.